Hello guys, in this video I thought I'd share the different ways I've been increasing my weekly mileage without getting injured, fingers crossed it carries on, and without necessarily following the 10% rule. So I say weekly mileage because it's the term commonly used, but really I should say weekly distance because in my case I run in kilometers and not in miles. Just for a bit of background, I started running seriously, as in following a training plan, in spring 2021. So I've been running, officially for a little over 2 years at this point. And between spring 2021 and I'd say summer 2022, I was rarely exceeding 50 kilometers, and I would be happy to go a little over and to have like a 55-56 kilometer week. And then between summer and winter 2022, when basically Ben came on board as my coach and when I was training for half marathons, this is really when my weekly mileage stepped up, and then I worked my way up to doing 60 kilometers, 65 kilometers a week. That was kind of like my new average. And I think it was in January this year that for the first time I hit 70k in 1 week. And since then it's been quite a regular occurrence that I do 70 to 73k a week. I'd say maybe 2 weeks a month. Hopefully soon I'll move on to the next bracket, like 65 to 75, and then the next one 70 to 80 kilometers, but one thing at a time. This is by no means impressive. I'm not an elite runner. I don't run 160k a week. If you're way ahead of me in your running journey, obviously this is not a video for you, but I thought I'd share how I went about increasing my weekly distance without getting injured as an amateur runner who started running in my late 20s, who has seen good progress. This might help someone who's currently in the shoes I was in a couple years ago, just running 45 to 50k a week and looking to increase their weekly distance. So here we are. But first of all, what's the benefit of increasing your weekly distance? Why do runners do that? The overarching benefit is that it helps you be able to run faster for longer. How? Well, if we break it down, increasing your weekly running distance is one of the ways to increase your aerobic capacity, basically develop your endurance, so develop your capacity to sustain an effort for a longer period of time. Increasing your weekly mileage also builds up your running efficiency, which is your ability to run faster or longer using less energy. It also trains you to deal with fatigue. Now that's not to say that if you're feeling absolutely exhausted, you need to push through and carry on running and not cut back. But it is likely that at some point when you will be increasing your weekly distance, you will be running on somewhat tired legs, whether it's an easy run that will not feel particularly easy on a given day, or whether in the middle of a long run you start experiencing fatigue. This is good practice both mentally and physically for on race day when you are likely to experience fatigue at some point. Now let's talk about how I've been gradually increasing my weekly mileage with the help of Ben, my coach, of course. I hope I'm not jinxing it, but so far I've been really good at avoiding injuries. So far I only had one small injury last year and one small little niggle this year where I had to take it easy, and the couple of the times where I had to take a little running break was for other issues that were not related to running injuries. So I'd say that obviously I'm really lucky that I don't seem to be prone to injuries, but also I'm doing everything I can to avoid getting injured. And that also includes not going crazy with increasing my weekly mileage too quickly. You've probably heard of the 10% rule, which is basically a rule stating that you shouldn't be increasing your weekly mileage by more than 10% week on week. Now this rule has no scientific foundation, it's never been proven to be true, but I get why it's a general and useful rule of thumb to have, because if you're new to running, you don't really know what you're doing, then following this rule will prevent you from increasing your weekly mileage by over 50% week on week and most likely getting injured. It's a bit of an arbitrary rule that actually is not backed by science, so with Ben we just didn't really follow it. So the most important is we did it progressively. We didn't follow the 10% rule, but that doesn't mean that I went from 50 to 70k a week overnight. This happened over the course of several months. Running means putting your body under more stress. It's like if you go to the gym and you're squatting 40 kilograms and then all of a sudden your next gym workout you decide that you're going to squat 80 kilograms. it's probably not going to go really well. It's either you're going to injure yourself on the spot, or you are really going to struggle to recover from that session, and that will impact your following gym sessions. Well, it's kind of the same for running. You need to just, build brick by brick to get to the next level. To give you a bit of a timeline of my personal experience, I'm on the Garmin app, scrolling back. So in July last year, 2022, my average weekly distance was 52.1 kilometers. Ben wasn't coaching me at that point, and I was still, averaging 50-ish K a week. Fast forward to January 2023, after working with Ben for 5 months and after a big period of half marathon training, my average weekly distance was now 67.8 kilometers. And now if we look at last month, my average weekly distance was 69.1k. So, getting much closer to an average of 70k a week. Last month should have been a higher average. Is that last week of the month that killed it a little bit because we were on holiday in Miami. It was really hot and I didn't run as much as I was meant to, basically. The second way we bumped up my weekly distance is by increasing my running frequency. Until Ben started coaching me in August last year, I was running 5 days a week. Ben added an extra running day into my plan, so I went from 5 days to 6 days. And now, since recently, there are some weeks where I run every day. The latest addition, as of last week, is the double run days, prompted by the fact that I am joining a running club. Runs with the club are in the evening, but I'm a morning runner at heart, and I love nothing more than getting up and starting my day with a run. So, for instance, tonight I've got a track session with the club, but this morning I still went out and I just did an easy 4K, nothing too taxing, but just, a little morning run. The third way is my long runs got longer, especially last year in the summer and the fall, as we were really focusing on the half marathon, and this is where we really worked on upping my weekly distance. So my long runs were increasing by 1 to 2 kilometers every week. So 16, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22k. I think we capped it at 22k, but that was a good way to add a little bit more each week. And generally speaking, my long runs are at least 18k now, 18 to 22k, versus up until summer last year, my long runs were rarely exceeding 16 to 18k. The fourth element is recovery. I am taking my recovery a whole lot more seriously now that I'm running 60 to 70k a week compared to when I was running 50k a week. And if I want to carry on building up my weekly distance, I can't just expect my body to go with it. I need to ensure that I recover properly, and I also really don't want to get injured. So, especially this year, I've been really diligent with my stretching, my mobility work. I'm really trying to fuel my body properly, get all the nutrients I need through my diet. I supplement with protein, and I try to get enough sleep. Although I go through phases where my sleep is really bad, so I am still working on the whole sleep aspect of recovery. Fifth element is I have regular down weeks. So because 70-ish K is kind of the upper end of my range at the moment, I don't do back-to-back 70k weeks because that would be probably a little too taxing. It's important to let your body absorb the training. So we have weeks where the volume comes back down. To give you a recent example of my last 4 weeks, I keep track of absolutely everything on a Google Sheet. So the week starting May 15th, I ran a total of 71k. The following week, I ran a total of 60k. The week after, starting May 29th, this is when we were in Miami. This was a proper down week. I ran only 50k. I should have been running 60-ish k, but because it was so warm and I was feeling quite fatigued by my runs, Ben dropped the volume back down to 50k. And then last week, I was back on a 71k week. And finally, and this is super important, I'm trying to be really in tune with my body. I've been training for a while before being so into running. I was super into resistance training, at the gym all the time, trying to get stronger. It's easy for me now to make the difference between I am tired and I can't be bothered, because if I can't be bothered but my body is absolutely fine, it's just that, yeah, I'm not really motivated on a certain week, then I still need to push through. Why wouldn't I? But if it's a case of I am actually tired, my legs are needing more rest, then I'm going to say this to Ben and it's going to decrease my volume for the week, and we're not going to try to hit 70k because there's no point doing it on a week when I am actually physically tired. For the past few months, let's say my average was 65 to 70k a week, and I've not really been in a rush to increase this because as long as I'm still progressing with the same amount of weekly volume, there's no point rushing it, trying to get to the next level. And I've seen progress this year, especially on the shorter distances, on the 5k particularly. But in a few months, we're gonna start half marathon training again because once again, my big focus for the last few months of the year is going to be the half marathon distance. And last year, I increased my weekly distance considerably when I was in that big phase of half marathon training, and I expect that the same is gonna happen this year. I think if I want to avoid the plateau, we are gonna have to basically take me to the next level in terms of weekly distance, and this is what we're gonna do. I think I've covered everything, so I hope some of it was helpful to some of you. Once again, I'm not an elite runner, I'm an amateur runner who loves running and is trying to progress. I am not a coach and I'm not running a crazy amount of miles, but I'm working my way up. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!